Once upon a time in a dense forest far away, there lived a clever little cat named Whiskers. Whiskers wasn't just any cat. She had fur as black as midnight, eyes that gleamed like emeralds, and a mind sharp as a tack. She was known throughout the forest for her wit and her ability to outthink anyone, no matter how big or strong they were. Whiskers lived in a cozy little den beneath an old oak tree, and she spent her days roaming the forest, exploring every nook and cranny, always curious about the world around her. Now, Whiskers had heard many tales about the forest's most fearsome creature, a large, cunning wolf named Fong. Fong was terrifying to most of the animals in the forest. With fur as gray as the stormy sky, eyes that burned like coals and sharp teeth that could tear through anything, he was the true ruler of the forest. No one dared challenge him, for Fong had a reputation for being both fierce and merciless. The animals of the forest lived in constant fear of the wolf, avoiding him whenever they could. But Whiskers was different. She wasn't afraid of Fong, and she had no intention of letting him scare her. One bright morning, as Whiskers was out for her usual walk, she saw something that made her pause. A group of animals was gathered near the edge of the forest, looking nervous and whispering among themselves. Whiskers approached them, her curiosity piqued. "What's going on?" she asked a squirrel named Nutty who was standing at the front of the group, his tail twitching anxiously. "It's Fong," Nutty replied, his voice trembling. "He's been terrorizing the forest again, and now he's threatening to take over the entire woodland. He says he'll eat anyone who dares to stand in his way. We're all too scared to do anything." Whiskers' green eyes narrowed, her mind already racing. She had heard of Fong's cruel nature, but something about this situation didn't sit right with her. The other animals were clearly frightened, and she understood why. Fong was powerful and no one wanted to be his prey. But Whiskers wasn't like the others. She didn't let fear control her. "I'm not afraid of Fong," she said, her voice filled with confidence. "And I think I might have a plan to stop him." The animals exchanged doubtful glances, but Whiskers wasn't deterred. She had always trusted her instincts, and right now they were telling her that she could outsmart the wolf. Whiskers spent the rest of the day thinking about her plan. She knew she couldn't confront Fong head-on. After all, he was much stronger than she was. But she had one thing Fong didn't: her cleverness. The next morning she set out to find the wolf, determined to put her plan into action. As she ventured deeper into the forest, Whiskers felt the familiar chill of the wind on her fur. She knew Fong's den was hidden in a dark, shadowy part of the woods, near the edge of a rocky cliff. She made her way there cautiously, keeping her ears perked and her senses alert. After a long trek, she finally spotted Fong's den, a large cave nestled between two towering boulders. The wolf was lounging just outside, his sharp eyes scanning the forest, looking for any signs of trouble. Whiskers took a deep breath and approached him quietly, her paws making no sound on the forest floor. She stopped just a few paces away from Fong, who was now watching her closely, a growl rumbling in his throat. "Well, well," Fong said with a sneer, "if it isn't the clever little cat. What brings you here, Whiskers? Are you here to beg for your life?" Whiskers stood tall and unafraid, her tail flicking with determination. "Actually, Fong," she said, her voice steady, "I'm here to offer you a deal." Fong raised an eyebrow, intrigued but still skeptical. "A deal? And what could a tiny cat like you possibly have to offer me?" "I have something you want," Whiskers replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "And if you agree to leave the forest in peace, I'll give it to you." The wolf growled low, clearly amused. "Oh? And what is this thing you think I want?" Whiskers smiled, her sharp mind already at work. "I have a secret. A secret that could make you the most powerful creature in the forest. You'll never have to hunt again and no one will dare challenge you. But you have to promise me something first. Promise that you'll leave the other animals alone." Fong's interest was piqued. "A secret, you say? I'm listening. What do I have to do?" "Promise first," Whiskers insisted, "and then I'll tell you everything." Fong hesitated for a moment, his sharp eyes narrowing, but in the end, his greed won out. "Fine. I promise. Now tell me this secret of yours." Whiskers leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's a rare fruit deep in the forest, a fruit that can give you unimaginable strength. It grows on a tree that only blooms once every 100 years. But the tree is guarded by a powerful spirit, and it's nearly impossible to reach." Fong's eyes gleamed with hunger. "A fruit that can give me strength? Where can I find it?" Whiskers paused, letting the suspense build before delivering the final twist of her plan. "I can lead you to it, but only if you promise to leave the other animals alone forever. You'll have all the power you want, but you must swear that you'll never harm anyone again." The wolf grinned, his sharp teeth showing. "I'll make that promise," he said, "but I'm not sure I trust you, cat. How do I know you're not lying?" Whiskers looked him straight in the eye, her expression unwavering. "You'll just have to trust me. But if you want to gain more power than you ever dreamed of, you'll have to follow my instructions exactly. And remember, I'm the only one who knows where the tree is." Fang's greed clouded his judgment, and without thinking, he agreed to Whiskers' terms. "Fine. Lead the way." With that, Whiskers set off, her tail held high in triumph. Fang followed her, his steps heavy and eager, his mind focused only on the promise of power. Whiskers, however, had a different goal in mind. As they journeyed deeper into the forest, she knew the wolf was walking right into her trap. They traveled for hours, winding through thick underbrush and treacherous paths. Finally, they reached the heart of the forest, where a large, dark cave stood. Fang looked around, confused. "This is the place?" he asked, his voice filled with doubt. Whiskers nodded, her face serious. "Yes. Inside that cave is the fruit you seek. But be warned, there's a powerful spirit that guards it. You must be careful." Fang's eyes gleamed with excitement. "I'm not afraid of a spirit," he said, striding toward the cave. But just as he stepped inside, a booming voice echoed through the forest. "Who dares to enter my domain?" the voice thundered. Fang froze, his ears flat against his head. Whiskers took a step back, her tail twitching with anticipation. The spirit of the forest, an ancient and powerful being, had awoken. "I am Fang, the wolf who rules this forest," he snarled. "Step aside, spirit, for I seek the fruit of power." The spirit laughed, a sound like the wind howling through the trees. "You think you can take the fruit? You are nothing but a greedy fool. You are not worthy of its power." Fang lunged forward, ready to fight, but before he could take another step, Whiskers spoke up, her voice clear and sharp. "Stop, Fang," she shouted. The wolf paused, looking back at her in confusion. "What is it, cat?" Whiskers stepped forward, her green eyes glinting with triumph. "The fruit you seek is not meant for you, Fang. The spirit of the forest has spoken, and it will not give you power. You made a deal with me, but now you see that your greed has led you astray. I outsmarted you." Fang growled, his anger rising, but it was too late. The spirit, in a moment of divine justice, surrounded him with a flash of light, and with a single command the wolf vanished into the ether, banished from the forest forever. The animals of the forest rejoiced, and Whiskers returned to her den, her cleverness having saved the day once again. From that day forward, the animals knew that even the most fearsome creatures could be outwitted by the smallest and cleverest of minds.